Hi and welcome to my channel. We're about halfway through this year and I thought it was about time that I did sort of a status report or a check-in on how my reads have been so far this year. So that's what we're going to do, even though there's really only one thing I want to talk about, and that is my own lack of reading. I'm recording this video on the 17th of June and so far this month I've only read one book. This hasn't really happened since I started this whole thing. And I'm a bit worried, and I don't want to become the channel where I talk about my yearly reading rut. I did one of those videos last year and I know that it goes up and down, but this time it just feels too real. I don't want to read and I just don't know what I'm supposed to do to get myself into reading again. But from next week on, I will start lagging behind on my reading goals. Maybe that's what it takes to get me up on the horse again. I'll wait and see, but hopefully it just fixes itself. I did get some new books in the mail today, so I will have a look at them and hopefully that will make me more motivated. I feel like that was enough self-pity for today, so we'll go over to the books that brought me joy and sorrow this year so far. I will talk about these books quite briefly, so if you want more in-depth thoughts about them, you can check out my wrap-up videos. I've put them all in a playlist, so you can check them out. I will try to remember to put that playlist on the end of this video. I tend to forget it. We're kicking it off with a book I had no expectations for, and that was Paulo Coelho and his The Alchemist. The Alchemist. I think this will end up being the book I disliked the most this year. It's not often I use this word, but I felt like this was a self-righteous novel. I tried finding the right word earlier today and I'm really satisfied with my choice going for self-righteous. There's just too much talk about religion, too many Bible quotes, not a very good storyline, not a very exciting plot at all, and also there's a touch of magical realism, which I'm not a big fan of. So this is just, we'll never seek this author out again, even though this has sold 65 million copies, and Will Smith likes it, it says on the back. But for me, this is not a book I will ever pick up or recommend anyone. So I thought I'd start out with the worst read so far. Then over to a book I had too high expectations for and thus it became a disappointment, so a different case than the latter one. And that is The End of the Ocean by Maya Lunde. So this is the second book in the Climate Quartet, where the last book came out last year, I think. The first book in this series I read for my summer vacation last year. Truly loved it. It was really intense at times and had a storyline on 3 different levels going forward. This really didn't in any way. So this is just incredibly slow without any movement. It should have been really sad. It's about the climate and how there's not enough water for people, and people are dying a lot in this one. So even though 2 of the most important characters in this one is a father and his child, which is something that truly should engage me a lot, this was just a huge disappointment. And since there are 2 more books in this series, I'm really thinking about whether I should continue or stop. I have the 3rd one lying here in the back, so I will probably read that one. This is famous for being slow, and a lot of people thought the first one also was a bit slow. Next one might be better. We'll see. I thought I'd speak about 3 authors in this segment, and the next one out is none other than Unforcer. So I've been talking a lot about Unforcer on this channel, mainly because he seems to be so popular among everyone on BookTube, but I've never really managed to understood the whole hype. I've given 2 of these 3-star and 1 a 2-star because there's something there, but I think I'm trying too hard. I shouldn't be reading a book trying to figure out how could I enjoy this more, and I find myself doing so when I read his books. So we'll probably read the last one in the septology, but after that I'll take a long break. In general, I do think my brain tries to like Norwegian authors more than other authors. I think that's natural. At least I try to give them a chance. While closing this segment of authors I probably won't read more books from, I thought I'd speak a little bit about my reads in general, and there's one specific thing, and that is that I read too many okay books. I still find it fascinating that some people just know what they like. They can go into a bookstore and choose a book quite quickly and just know that they will enjoy it. Probably those are the people that have one genre. They just know that this will be fine or fine plus, something like that. But I never truly know what I will enjoy. This might improve over time, but I just find it to take too much time. So even though I've found some authors that I know will be better for me than others, it's still difficult to know. And my read so far this year has really reflected this. I read a lot of 3 and 4 star reads. Often a 4-star read is okay plus in my book. It sort of depends. It's easier with Storygraph where you can have like 3.25, 3.5. There's a lot of 3.5 going on these days. Sometimes I get comments, especially on my older videos, saying things like, you should read things you like. You should stick with the books you enjoy. Do not read books you feel that you have to read. And of course, a small portion of the books I read nowadays are books that I feel like I have to read, or I would like to know what the fuss is all about. But in general, I try just picking the books that I feel like. But it's still difficult, and I just don't get how people think that I'm reading books I don't like on purpose. I'm not doing that. I try finding the right reads, always, but still difficult. Maybe this is where statistics come into play. We'll see at the end of the year if my general rating has gone up from last year, but I truly doubt it. But only time will tell. Maybe I'll send all my reading stats to someone and they can sort of look over them and tell me how I'm doing. If any of you out there have a neat way of predicting what books you might enjoy, please comment below and share your tips and tricks. Let's all now go over to the happy place, and we'll start off with the book I recently read, and that is The Man Who Died Twice by Richard Osman, the sequel to the Thursday Murder Club. So the book number 2. I liked the first one, and obviously I should have known that I would enjoy this one. I do think that I even like this a bit better, but that's sometimes hard to tell. My brain is kind of stupid sometimes, and I do think that I didn't want to like this as much as I did. There is something about how popular it is, and this is truly idiotic, but when something is very, very hyped up, you don't really want to be a part of that hype like 100%, but sometimes it's just difficult. This is a heartwarming novel about 4 older people and all the cool things they do and their thoughts. And that's about it. I do think it's easier over time getting rid of the prejudice that popular things isn't as good as like semi-popular things. I do think that this makes me look a bit silly, but I think the thought of something that's hugely popular is something that some people might not want to take part in. It might be that I'm just childish, who knows? Probably all people I know. Let's continue with something new and blue, and it's Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney. So I've read Normal People, and there is something that makes me immensely happy when reading a book and recognizing language. I will never be able to completely put my finger on it or like verbalize what it is about language that makes me recognize it, but the feeling what I got when I read this was, this is clearly a Sally Rooney book, and as a beginner reader, that is just satisfying, I guess. Did truly enjoy this one and how she talks about the relationships between people. Her characters aren't polished at all, they're just normal people. But it's true, they're all faulty and not that many of them are lovable. You just see yourself in them. All of them, I guess, so that's why it's here. The next one also had things in it that made me recognize the author, but it wasn't the language, it's more the strangeness, and that is Haruki Murakami's Men Without Women. My first short story collection, picked up at an airport without me knowing that it was a short story collection, and I'm just happy that I read it. It's something about his universe that's a bit odd. In Murakami's universe, it doesn't need to be like a big thing that makes you think that this is kind of strange. Maybe it's best summed up like it's a normal situation that you wouldn't really see. So in that sense, it's not normal, but it could happen, but it's just not likely. But why isn't it likely? That's difficult to explain, or you will need a whole lot of words explaining why this wouldn't be as normal. I don't know. It's just a bit strange, and that makes it interesting. This was also my second Murakami novel, so this will be a beautiful collaboration through the years, I guess. The next one I thought I'd speak briefly about is one that caught me a bit off guard, and that is Hver dag skal vi være så modige by Brynjulf Jung-Kjønn. I don't think this has been translated yet either, but he was really popular last year with his newest novel, which got a lot of attention. And that was the reason why I discovered this one that had won an award 2 years prior, I guess. It's about a small boy living with his mother, and she is mentally abusive, not in the very obvious way. Of course, it's obvious in the way she neglects him, but she's not directly mean to him. He sort of has to deal with his own thoughts and tell us what's the issue without being able to say it directly always. I found it to be a tearjerker and just written so beautifully. So also do enjoy this cover so much. So if you speak Norwegian or Danish or Swedish, or you just want to learn the language, read this one. If you've decided to learn Norwegian, I guess you can read anything you'd like, because it's said to be a difficult language to understand. Also not difficult to understand is this one, A Man Called Ove by Fredrik Backman. I can now say that I do think that Fredrik Backman is my favorite author. I've thought about this a whole lot, and it's the same thing as with Richard Osmond. I just don't feel like having Fredrik Backman as my favorite author. He's just too popular, but I've come to terms with him just writing books that I truly enjoy, and that's enough. Should be enough. He also seems like a pleasant guy, so there's nothing wrong with him. I really don't know why I feel like I have to defend my opinions, but still I do. But anyway, this is a fantastic book. Yet another fantastic book from Fredrik Backman. I saw the movie years ago without knowing that Fredrik Backman was a person at all. Enjoyed the movie immensely, and now I thought I'd read it and then watch the movie again. I did so, and I enjoyed both of them, which kind of caught me off guard. I thought that was a surprise. I made a separate video about me watching the movie for this novel, because I thought that had to be done. The way Fredrik Backman makes you connect with the characters is just brilliant. I don't think there's any emotion in this one that Ove experienced that I didn't experience with him. And all this while having a clear storyline, a cool plot, and a bunch of other lovable characters. I think I just decided that 2023 will be the year where I declared that I have a favorite author, and that is Fredrik Backman. It's not Dostoevsky or some intellectual. I don't know why I say words sometimes, but I love that book, and I love many of his other books as well. And as always, nonfiction gets higher ratings from me than other books, and these are two of the nonfictions that I truly loved this year. Educated by Tara Westover was sent to me, and this was one of the best books I read early this year, about a girl struggling to survive and to break from her family to get an education. And Two Sisters by Åsne Seierstad, about two Norwegian girls traveling to join ISIS. Before I started talking about these two now, I didn't really understand how much these sort of have in common, only that two of them has chosen a very different fate than Tara Westover. But these two I truly loved. They were gruesome and great. So I guess this is where we're at. I still read books that I love, and I still read books that I hate. I will try to read fewer books that I hate and read more books that I love, as always. But we'll just see how that goes. These days I will try to focus on actually just reading a book, so this is a different situation that I'm used to. But soon summer vacation is here, and I can lower my shoulders and think happy thoughts. Maybe that will get me in the mood to read more books. But no one knows at this point. I'll stop being so dramatic. It's only books. I hope you all are doing great. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!